Hey everyone, welcome back to Barter Hordes. My name's Robert. It's the first Wednesday in May, so I have a new group of 20 books that have been recommended by independent booksellers across America. We'll do the first 5 today. This group looks really good. There are several that immediately popped out to me, some of which I've already seen people talking about on BookTube, others I've just read about and really interest me, so I'm excited about this month's 2020 titles. The first one is a collection of short stories called A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley. In the 9 expansive, searching stories of A Lucky Man, fathers and sons attempt to salvage relationships with friends and family members and confront mistakes made in the past. An imaginative young boy from the Bronx goes swimming with his group from day camp at a backyard pool in the suburbs and faces the effects of power and privilege in ways he can barely grasp. A teen intent on proving himself a man through the all-night revel of Jouvert can't help but look out for his impressionable younger brother. A pair of college boys on the prowl follow 2 girls home from a party and have to own the uncomfortable truth of their desires. And at a capoeira conference, 2 brothers grapple with how to tell the story of their family caught in the dance of their painful, fractured history. Jamel Brinkley's stories, in a debut that announces the arrival of a significant new voice, reflect the tenderness and vulnerability of black men and boys whose hopes sometimes betray them, especially in a world shaped by race, gender, and class, where luck may be the greatest fiction of all. So that's A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley, and that came out this week, May 1st, from Grey Wolf Press. The second one is a novel everybody on BookTube has been hearing about forever because it was a huge hit when it came out in the UK first. But it's coming out here in 2 weeks, and I'm excited to read it because everybody universally has adored this novel, and that's Tin Man by Sarah Winman. This is almost a love story. Ellis and Michael are 12 when they first become friends, and for a long time it is just the 2 of them, cycling the streets of Oxford, teaching themselves how to swim, discovering poetry, and dodging the fists of overbearing fathers. And then one day, this closest of friendships grows into something more. But then we fast forward a decade or so to find that Ellis is married to Annie, and Michael is nowhere in sight, which leads to the question, what happened in the years between? This is almost a love story, but it's not as simple as that. So Tin Man by Sarah Winman, and it's coming out in the United States on May 15th from G.P. Putnam's Sons. This next one I'm looking forward to particularly. I am a big Christopher Moore fan, and this one is Noir by Christopher Moore. When I had my bookstore many years ago, I ran across a book in my opening inventory that was a copy of his novel Fluke, and it had a cartoon picture of a whale's flukes on the front cover, but across the flukes were written the words, "Bite me." And so, of course, I had to check that out, and I just got sucked into the world of Christopher Moore's absurdist fiction. He takes a lot of horror and conventions like vampires and things like that, and then turns them into funny, absurd novels, and they are a lot of fun. So his new one has just come out. San Francisco, summer 1947, a dame walks into a saloon. It's not every afternoon that an enigmatic, comely blonde named Stilton, like the cheese, walks into the scruffy gin joint where Sammy Two Toes Tiffin tends bar. It's love at first sight. But before Sammy can make his move, an Air Force general named Remy arrives with some urgent business. Because when you need something done, Sammy's the guy to go to. He's got the connections on the street. Meanwhile, a suspicious flying object has been spotted up the Pacific coast in Washington state near Mount Rainier, followed by a mysterious plane crash in a distant patch of desert in New Mexico that goes by the name Roswell. But the real weirdness is happening on the streets of the city by the bay. When one of Sammy's schemes goes south and the cheese mysteriously vanishes, Sammy's forced to contend with his own dark secrets and more than a few strange goings-on if he wants to find his girl. So that's Noir by Christopher Moore. It came out April 17th from William Morrow. The fourth title is a historical novel by Paula McLean called Love and Ruin. The best-selling author of The Paris Wife returns to the subject of Ernest Hemingway in a novel about his passionate, stormy marriage to Martha Gellhorn, a fiercely independent, ambitious young woman who would become one of the greatest war correspondents of the 20th century. In 1937, 28-year-old Martha travels alone to Madrid to report on the atrocities of the Spanish Civil War and becomes drawn to the stories of ordinary people caught in devastating conflict. She also finds herself unexpectedly and uncontrollably falling in love with Hemingway, a man already on his way to becoming a legend. In the shadow of the impending Second World War and set against the tumultuous backdrops of Madrid, Finland, China, Key West, and especially Cuba, where Martha and Ernest make their home, their relationship and professional careers ignite. But when Ernest publishes the biggest literary success of his career, For Whom the Bell Tolls, they are no longer equals, and Martha must make a choice. Surrender to the confining demands of being a famous man's wife, or risk losing Ernest by forging a path as her own woman and writer. It's a dilemma that will force her to break his heart and her own. That one sounds really good. I've been to the Hemingway house in Key West, and I've read a lot of Hemingway, and I've read, I think, one or two different books that had to do with Martha Gellhorn, and so this one seems right up my alley. And that came out yesterday, May 1st, from Ballantine Books. Love and Ruin by Paula McLean. And the last one is a debut novel that comes out May 15th. It's called The Ensemble by Asia Gabel. And I checked with her on Twitter last night to make sure I was pronouncing her name correctly, and I would have pronounced it wrong, so I'm grateful that she wrote back so quick and told me how to pronounce it. It's Asia like the continent, and Gable as in Clark Gable. That's the way she described it. It's the addictive debut novel about four young friends navigating the cutthroat world of music and their complex relationships with each other as ambition, passion, and love intertwine over the course of their lives. Britt is the second violinist, a beautiful and quiet orphan. The viola is Henry, a prodigy who's always had it easy. The cellist is Daniel, the oldest, the angry skeptic who sleeps around, and on first violin is Jana, their flinty, resilient leader. Together they are the Van Ness String Quartet. In the ensemble, each character picks up the melody from the group's youthful rocky start through to adulthood. As they navigate devastating failures and wild successes, heartbreak and marriage, triumph and loss, betrayal and enduring loyalty, they are always tied together by career, by the intensity of their art, by the secrets they carry together, and by choosing each other over and over again. Following these four unforgettable characters, Asia Gabel's debut novel gives a behind-the-scenes look into the highly competitive, mysterious world of high-level musicians. The story of Britt and Henry and Daniel and Jana, the ensemble, is a heart-skipping portrait of ambition, friendship, and the tenderness of youth. So that's The Ensemble by Asia Gabel, and it comes out May 15th from Riverhead. So there you have the first five for May. At least three of those are on my list to try to pick up right away, although my May is kind of looking packed right now. I'll be back again next Wednesday with the second five from May's recommendations. Thanks for watching. Bye.